Now to summarize the entire unit, what we have just learned, let's go through the topics and the shortcuts that we have seen. First, we started off with interface basics. There we saw how we were supposed to understand the tools and the menus and the panel bars over here. The shortcuts over here are to show or hide all the tools which are available over here. I can press tab. To switch between standard and full screen mode, that is just selection of the area, I can press F, in which I can end up showcasing just the canvas. Zooming in or zooming out can be done by Control plus or Control minus. So when I do this, that's that. Now fitting on screen, that means fitting the entire canvas on my full screen area, is going to be Control 0. I can choose to undo and redo by Control Z and Control Shift Z. Next, we saw initiating new projects or opening existing files. To create a new document, I can press Control N or Control Alt N. Both ways, I will have a new document dialog box open over here. I can save a file by pressing Control S. Now, in case the file had already been saved previously, it'll save as it'll update the same one. Or if it was not saved at all, if it's the first time that you're saving the document, it will show the saving prompt so that you can choose the location where you would want to save the file. Now I can close any file by pressing Ctrl W, or I can close all the files by pressing Ctrl Alt W. In the next topic about canvas and image resizing, we can choose to resize the image by pressing Alt Ctrl and I. It will show the prompt box to do the same thing. And I can choose Ctrl Alt C to show the canvas resizing dialog box. The next thing that we did see was about tool explorations. Before I move into tool explorations, I'll just suggest you to use the tooltips. When I move across the different tools over here, I can see the tooltips for each one of these. For the move tool, it's V. For the rectangular marquee tool, it's M. Moving on to the lasso, it's L. Magic wand tool is W. There is slice, frame, eyedropper, which we'll probably use slightly more frequently, can be accessed by pressing I. The next one that you will use very frequently is the brush tool, for which you will press B. For the paint bucket tool, it's G. For the text tool, it will be T. And for shape tools, it will be U. For the hand tool, it will be H, that I can use to move around my canvas. You can also select everything on your screen by pressing Ctrl A, or you can deselect the entire selected area by pressing Ctrl D. That was tool exploration. Now moving on to guides and tooltips, we just saw how to do select all. I can show or hide any guides that you have by pressing Ctrl and semicolon. I have a guide over here in the middle of the screen, which I can show or hide by pressing Ctrl and semicolon. I can enable or disable the rulers by pressing Ctrl and R. I can clear any guides from the screen, that is, remove all the guides from the canvas by pressing Ctrl, Alt and semicolon. Lastly, we saw guides and tooltips. Now we've already seen select and deselect. Now to show or hide any guides that you have on screen, you can press Ctrl and semicolon. So I can press this to show or hide any guides that are available. We've already been seeing tooltips. I can see the tooltips or I can disable them. If in case you're not able to see them, you can do Ctrl, Alt, Shift and K. That way it will hide all the tooltips as well. And those were all the shortcuts that I suggest you remember very carefully, because these will be very handy in the coming projects. In case you might want to see any of the shortcuts, you can always go to Edit and look at keyboard shortcuts by pressing, or you can press Alt, Shift, Command or Ctrl and K. When you do that, you'll be able to see all the shortcuts which are used by Photoshop. So you can have this for application menus, for panel menus, for tools, and even for workspaces. You can choose and change or update any other shortcuts that you need by going onto that button and clicking on that area. You can always accept or delete a shortcut as well. Remember one last thing, whether you're using Windows or Mac, the shortcuts are pretty much the same. If you're using Mac, you will be using Command instead of Control, and Option instead of Alt. Everything else is the same. And that was our unit on Photoshop Basics. Let's move on to the next one.